Hello! Are you just as curious about nicotine addiction as I am? Well, come along and I will show you how it works. This video was made possible because I volunteer for an organization that's called Fighting Cancer, and I talk to young people aged 15 to 24 about tobacco use and nicotine use. This video will not be about why you should quit smoking and why it's bad for you. We just simply look at how nicotine can be addictive. There are 3 ways you can be chained into addiction, and that can be via social ways, biological ways, or psychological ways. Today we're going to be talking about the biological one. You don't need a biology degree to understand this. I'll try and simplify it as much as I can. But if you imagine that this is a synapse, and this is a neuron that sends out chemicals. If you are a non-smoker, this is roughly what it would look like inside your synapse. So these are pathways where the chemicals can be picked up, and it will just release them. And they'll sort of have enough receptors so there won't be a huge overdose or a huge decrease in these chemicals. Now, if you start smoking, upon smoking, right, you will have more chemicals floating about, but not a lot of receptors. So what your body does then when you become a smoker, this is upon when you start smoking, but once you've smoked for a while, your body will start to create more receptors to keep up with all of the neurochemicals in your body. And the blue one is nicotine. Yeah, nicotine. Okay. If you then stop smoking, then you won't have any of these blue chemicals, nicotine. I call them blue chemicals just to simplify it, but we are talking about nicotine. When you stop smoking, you will have a huge amount of receptors that are empty. And when they're empty, that can give you irritability. You can get sad. You can feel unwell. Just basically not great at all, because you're used to having this huge amount of chemicals in your bloodstream, or not in your bloodstream, sorry. You're used to having this amount of chemicals, but now there are way too many receptors. So this usually happens after 1 to 2 days, and the 3rd day is the worst. But once you get used to not smoking, these receptors, they will never not be there. They will just become inactive. So if I just draw them in green instead, which means when they're inactive, they won't pick up the other chemicals. They won't be in use, but they will be there. So let's say you're trying to stop smoking, and if you reach this stage and you never pick up a cigarette again, it will always look like this. You will have your standard receptors that pick up the chemicals that were there before, and the inactive receptors will just remain inactive. But if you accidentally smoke a cigarette after not smoking for like a week or a month or a year, your receptors will become active again, and therefore they will now pick up the nicotine. And then you'll restart the whole cycle of, then when you stop smoking, you'll have more receptors that are empty, which causes irritability, sadness, general feeling of feeling unwell. And then again, if you survive, I call it survive past day 3, those receptors will become inactive again. So that is basically the biological sense of addiction when talking about nicotine. I hope this made you a bit more curious as to why it occurs, and why you can get those feeling of unwell, sad, irritability. But the third day is usually the hardest day to overcome. But there's lots of help out there, and I'm pretty sure your GP can help you if you ask them or if you Google for some resources. But I appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.